The Dragon Who Was Scared of Flying. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a dragon named Dennis. He lived in a cave high up in the mountains. All his friends lived in caves nearby, and his own brothers and sisters lived right next door. Now you would think that Dennis would have been a very happy dragon, surrounded by his friends and family, wouldn't you? Well, I'm sorry to say that Dennis was, in fact, a very unhappy and lonely dragon. The reason for this was that Dennis was scared of flying. Every day his friends would set off to have adventures, leaving poor Dennis behind on his own. Dennis would stare out of his cave at the departing dragons. How he wished he could join them. After they had gone, he would stand on the ledge outside his cave, trying to build up the courage to fly. But as soon as he looked over the edge, he felt all giddy and had to step back. Then he would crawl back into his cave, defeated, and spend the rest of the day counting stalactites on the ceiling or rearranging his collection of backbones. Every evening, the other dragons would return with amazing tales of what they had been up to that day. "I rescued a damsel in distress," one would say. "I fought the wicked one-eyed giant and won," boasted another. "I helped light the fire for a witch's cauldron," announced a third. "What have you been up to?" Dennis's sister Doreen used to ask him. "Oh, this and that," Dennis would reply, mournfully looking down at his scaly toes. Then Doreen would lead him out of the cave and try to teach him to fly. Dennis would take a running jump and flap his wings furiously, but his feet would stay firmly on the ground. Then the other dragons would laugh so much that in the end, he always gave up. One day, Dennis could stand it no longer. The other dragons flew off as usual to find adventures, but Dennis, instead of retreating into his cave, set off down the mountainside. It was very tiring having to walk. Dennis had never been really further than from his cave to the ledge and back, and soon he was puffing and panting. He was about to rest on the side of the path when his eye was caught by something colorful in the distance. Down in the valley, he could make out some brightly colored tents, and now he could hear the faint strains of music drifting up to him. "I'd better take a closer look," thought Dennis. "Maybe I can have an adventure like the other dragons." He got so excited at the thought of his very own adventure that he started to run. Then he got all out of breath and had to stop altogether for a while. At last, Dennis reached the tents and found himself in a world more exotic than he could ever have imagined. He was surrounded by strange four-legged creatures such as he had never seen before. There was a yellow creature that roared and another one with stripes and fierce teeth. There were also quite a few hairy creatures with long tails. These ones were dressed up to look like boys and girls. Can you guess what all these creatures were? Of course, Dennis had never seen a lion or a tiger or a chimpanzee before. He thought they were very peculiar. The animals thought Dennis was very odd too. They stood in a circle around him. "How strange," snarled the lion. "A slimy thing with wings." "It doesn't look very fit," growled the tiger, flexing his claws. "Look at its funny, knobbly tail." giggled the chimpanzees. Dennis began to feel unhappy and unwanted again. But at that moment, he heard a friendly voice saying, "Hello there, welcome to Chippy's Circus. I'm Claude the Clown. How do you do?" Dennis turned around. Now he felt really confused, for standing behind him was a man with the unhappiest face Dennis had ever seen. He had great sad eyes and a mouth that was turned down so far that it seemed to touch his chin. Yet he spoke cheerfully. "I'm Dennis the Dragon," Dennis said. "A dragon, eh?" said Claude. "Well, we've never had a dragon in the circus before. Might be quite a crowd puller. Would you like to join the circus?" he asked. "Oh, yes, please," cried Dennis. "Very well," said Claude. "I'm sure you're very talented," he added. So Dennis joined the circus and was very happy for the first time in his life. The other animals became quite friendly now that they knew what he was. Claude taught Dennis to ride the unicycle and to do acrobatic tricks. He also learned how to dive into a bucket of water. He didn't mind that a bit because his slimy skin was quite waterproof. Now, as you know, dragons are particularly good at breathing fire, so Dennis soon became the circus's champion fire eater. Folks would come from far and near to see Dennis shooting flames high into the dark roof of the big top. One evening, Dennis had just finished his fire-eating act. He was eating an ice cream to cool his hot throat and watching Carlotta, the tightrope walker. She was pirouetting high up on the rope as usual. Then, all at once, she lost her footing, and Dennis saw, to his horror, that she was going to fall. He dropped his ice cream and without thinking, flapped his wings furiously. As Carlotta fell, Dennis found himself flying up towards her. He caught her gently on his back and flew down to the ground with her clinging on tightly. The crowd roared and burst into applause. They obviously thought it was all a part of the act. "Thank you, Dennis," whispered Carlotta in his ear. "You saved my life." Dennis was overjoyed. Not only had he saved Carlotta's life, he had also learned to fly. "And," he said with a grin, "I do declare that flying is actually rather fun."